Okay, so I've tested the water in this tank now, and there is basically no ammonia. There's basically no nitrite. There's basically no nitrate. That means that as it stands, the filter is handling it. pH is very high. KH is 4. Now, the only thing that seems a bit surprising is we have a very, very high GH. Now, I'm assuming that there's a bit of coral rubble in this substrate, and there is a piece of coral there. So that's obviously helping with the pH and the KH, because I'm not worried about them at all, but the GH is super high. So assuming that nobody's put heaps of salt in the water, which would probably not be the end of the world, I'm assuming that the reason why the GH is so high is maybe larger amounts of water agent has been used. Because over a long period of time, particularly if we're not doing water changes, the GH of the water can actually build up, particularly if high doses of water agent are put in the water. So that's not the end of the world, but when I do a water change today, I will be not adding any GH or KH products to this tank. It is something that needs checking, but not something that needs attention for this particular aquarium. Now, considering the water quality in here is temporarily okay, and when I say temporarily, I mean that as these fish grow, it will come to a point where the filter cannot handle it. But right now, what's going on is the water's coming up and going through this filter. This filter is very dirty, as you can see, so I'm going to clean that now. It's very important that the biological media is cleaned in water from the fish tank, not water from the tap. But this is extremely dirty. But the fun thing about these filters is it is important you keep these filters clean, because what can happen with these filters is the water's pumped up here into the top section, and then if the filter's not clean and the water gets clogged on the way back down, it has a way of building up and overflowing. So these filters, these top filters, you particularly want to make sure you keep these top filters clean, otherwise your fish tank can overflow, and water on the floor is never the funnest of things. So we've just stumbled across some more products for this tank. Now this is another water agent. That's water agent number 3. There's 3 different water agents that we found. I've also found a live bacteria product. That's number 2. There are now 2 live bacteria products. These also, I really prefer them in the fridge once they're open. And then we've also found an antibacterial medication. If we saw problems with the skin or eyes or fins, we may want to medicate with a antibacterial medication. But at the moment, all the fish look happy, so there's no reason to worry about that. So what we're doing now is we're going to clean the filter material in water from the fish tank. So I've drained the fish tank water, and then we're just going to go like this. Oi, get your head out of there. Now this filter material is very, very dirty. Now, I'm not a big fan of any of this filter material. So we've got these here for biological media. These are going to offer a little bit of what's called nitrifying bacteria. If it was up to me, I would use Marine Pure. The reason why I'd use Marine Pure is Marine Pure contains parallel denitrification, and it holds a lot more good bacteria than these. So I would consider replacing this for Marine Pure. Now the other thing I would look at doing is, these are some filter mats here, is I would look at replacing these filter mats with polyfilter. Polyfilter works like magic. It adsorbs and absorbs anything impure out of the water, and it's like magic. Now you can see that this water is putridly bad now, but what I don't want to do is hose this stuff out, because if I hose this stuff out, then I'm going to kill off the good bacteria that's keeping the fish alive. Now the good bacteria that are keeping the fish alive is growing in here, and oi, you're wrecking my video. So the good bacteria that's growing in here is what's keeping the fish alive, and if we go and hose this stuff out, we're going to kill off the good bacteria, and if we kill off the good bacteria, then our fish may very well be in trouble. So it's better to have a filter that's slightly dirty than it is to kill off the good bacteria with tap water.
Stop it. Stop.
and then have no fish.
Stop.
Oi, pal. So what we've done here is just removed all this filter material and given it a clean in water from the fish tank. Then we discard that water. Then we can replace the water back in the aquarium again with a bit of water agent because we don't want to use tap water. Now, if this process can be repeated, let's say every week or two, or twice a week even, or every week or even twice a week, until these filters are cleaner, that would be great. But what I really don't want is to clean this filter material too well and kill off the good bacteria, which is currently doing a very good job keeping these fish alive. Now, the other thing is aeration is very important. At the moment, there's a tiny little air stone that's bubbling away that is absolutely better than nothing. But most of the aeration in this aquarium is coming from the fact that the water falls back into the tank. So what we don't want to do is fill the tank up too much, because if we fill it up to the top and therefore the water's not falling at all, then we're going to decrease the amount of oxygen in the tank. And therefore, if you decrease the amount of oxygen, then the good bacteria will not really be able to work so efficiently. Because the good bacteria needs oxygen. So now what we're going to do is a bit of a glass clean, like this. Now, the more regularly the glass is cleaned, the easier the job is. And if you're having trouble getting the algae off, then using a razor blade is a really good thing. This algae seems to be coming off okay. So the more regularly you do this, the easier it is. So once a week is good. And if you find that you don't want to do this anymore, watch out mate, move out the way, dog. If you don't want to do this anymore, if you just put a heater in the tank and then put some bristlenose catfish in the water, then the bristlenose catfish usually do a very good job cleaning your algae, even to the point where sometimes you don't even have to do it. So you can see this algae is coming off relatively easily. So we just go around, clean off the algae. When we go to fill up the aquarium again, we're going to fill the bucket up, and I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of water ager in it. Now just be aware that if you put too much water ager in it, it's not the end of the world, but it does tend to raise your GH level. And because our GH level is quite high, we're not going to add any salts or anything like that we'd normally put in. And if you're going to do a water change, it's also good to be aware of your KH level and add a bit of KH powder if you need it, and this aquarium does not. Probably because of coral sand in the substrate, and that coral there is probably keeping the pH right. So in this case, we're not worried about pH or KH, so we do not have to add KH powder. And because our GH is very high, we're not going to add any GH salts. So we're just going to add a little bit of water ager, and then I'm going to tip that back in. Open the pump up, and inside the impeller housing here, I found that the impeller was snapped. So this little top section here needs to be stuck on the top here. A little bit of super glue could do the job, just to temporarily get it going. Or if we're lucky, we might temporarily get it going. But replacing this impeller would be a pretty good idea. An impeller is sort of like a tyre. It's the bit that spins around and does sort of conk out after a while. So every couple of years, do expect to have to replace your impeller. And impeller is a good thing to have contingency for. So if you go and get an impeller and then you put it in the cupboard of the fish tank, then there's some magical way that you'll never ever need it. On the other hand, if you don't have a spare impeller for your pump, then you'll find about a week after they discontinue that particular pump and you no longer can get these impellers, you'll find that you need one. So having a spare impeller is a very good idea, because it is something that every couple of years may go bung. And so being prepared for that's definitely a suggestion. So pulling the pump apart, putting a new impeller in is going to get this running. So we've got this pump working again, be it temporary, and you can see the water falling back into the aquarium, which is part of the oxygen required by the aquarium. So for this particular tank, because there's a lot of fish, I do not recommend filling the tank up too much. And if I was going to fill it up too much, I'd want more aeration. I'd want more oxygen for these fish. Anytime you do something large with your aquarium, like a water change or general service or whatever, it's a good idea not to feed the fish for a day, and that gives them a chance to scavenge. Because particularly when you're stirring up the gravel or moving the decorations, you're going to dislodge a whole bunch of crap and give the fish an opportunity to munch on it. So adding new fish, it's good to not feed for a day. Doing anything major with the tank, it's good to not feed for a day. So basically we've completed a very small service, and if that was repeated again, that would be the key. You'd never want to change too much water. A half would probably be maximum you want to change. It's better to change less, more regularly. Same with cleaning the filter. You don't want to go and hose it all out and do a massive filter clean, because you can risk killing off the good bacteria. It's better to do a small clean regularly and get yourself back under control than go and just try and do a massive clean. So anyway, it's very easy. Doesn't take too long. So you've just got to follow the rules. The rules are: don't feed for a day after you change the water. Don't change too much water. Always add water agent to the new water. And it's good to test your water before you actually do the service. Water quality and feeding is the key to healthy, happy fish. And anytime you're worried about anything, just grab your phone, make a little video of what's going on, and come down and see us at Majestic Aquariums, and we can make sure that your fish are going to be nice and happy moving forward.